Meow, fur ends. Tragedy struck Kherson, Ukraine on October 1st as Russian artillery shattered the morning calm, turning a bustling marketplace into a scene of carnage. Let's sink our claws into this developing story. At approximately 9 o'clock in the morning, Russian forces unleashed a devastating artillery strike on Kherson's central market, claiming the lives of at least 7 civilians and leaving 9 others wounded. This brutal assault occurred as residents were simply going about their daily routines, buying and selling products at the start of their day. The attack sent shockwaves through the recently liberated city, which sits precariously close to the Crimean Peninsula, a region of immense strategic importance in this ongoing conflict. Matthias Schmale, the UN humanitarian coordinator for Ukraine, didn't mince words in his condemnation of this heinous act. He declared, "This attack on civilians going about their daily lives is utterly unacceptable and must stop immediately." Schmale's statement underscores the blatant violation of international humanitarian law, which explicitly prohibits attacks on non-combatants. The human toll of this tragedy is heart-wrenching. Among the victims were men, women, and even children, their lives forever altered by this senseless act of violence. One market vendor, visibly shaken, shared, "The occupiers attacked the market in the centre of Kherson. Trading points where Kherson residents were buying or selling products in the morning were under fire." The psychological impact of such attacks on civilian populations cannot be overstated, leaving residents feeling as vulnerable as a cat in a dog park. This incident is not isolated, but part of a troubling pattern of attacks that have disproportionately affected civilians since the Russian invasion began. The UN Human Rights Office reports a staggering 45% increase in civilian casualties between July and September of this year. In the Kherson region alone, over 16,100 people have been forced to evacuate their homes, with 40% of those being seniors aged 60 and above. While Russian officials might claim they're targeting military objectives, the evidence paints a different picture. These strikes on residential areas and vital infrastructure seem designed to instill fear and chaos among civilians, undermining the fabric of daily life in Ukraine. It's a strategy as cold as a cat's nose and twice as cruel. The international community has been quick to respond. World leaders and organisations have voiced their outrage, with many calling for an emergency UN Security Council meeting to address this escalating humanitarian crisis. President Volodymyr Zelensky has condemned these strikes as war crimes, emphasising the urgent need for accountability on a global scale. As we continue to track this developing situation, make sure to subscribe and join our community of informed felines. Your support helps us keep our whiskers on the pulse of global events. And while we hope for a peaceful resolution, the situation remains as tense as a cat on a hot tin roof. The recent Ukrainian counter-offensive efforts have faced significant challenges, with Russian forces launching localized offensives aimed at regaining the theatre-wide initiative. Despite some marginal successes near Marinivka, Ukrainian forces have been largely forced into a defensive posture due to overwhelming Russian artillery capabilities and delays in Western aid. Speaking of defence, Ukraine's air defence systems have evolved but remain insufficient to counter the relentless Russian attacks. While the country now boasts 2 Patriot air defence batteries and 12 NASAMS, President Zelensky has stressed the urgent need for at least 7 more Patriot missile systems to effectively protect civilian areas. The humanitarian situation in Kherson and surrounding regions remains dire. Aid groups report pressing needs for food, medical supplies, and mental health support, as the persistent strikes continue to hinder access to essential services. Millions have been displaced, with countless more facing persistent threats to their safety and livelihoods. As we absorb the catastrophic news from Kherson, the tragic loss of life and the countless others affected, it's essential to remember that these attacks are not just statistics. They are sons, daughters, friends, and neighbours whose lives are irrevocably changed by violence. The humanitarian crisis that continues to unfold demands renewed focus on ensuring such incidents cease, implementing solutions that prioritise civilian safety, and reinforcing international law's critical role in this conflict. Looking ahead, diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict continue, but the road to peace remains fraught with challenges. The long-term impacts on Ukraine-Russia relations are likely to reverberate for generations, reshaping the geopolitical landscape of Eastern Europe and beyond. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for our next update. I'm Ron de Parmesan reporting for Newscats. Me Yao.